Hi everyone, Summer with the Starry Ascent, and I wanted to do a VR hashtag to Astro Lady Tarot Anna. She did a show me how you practice video and a little hashtag that goes with it. And I thought it was really neat as something to do, especially when we're working with tarot, because we see a lot of walkthroughs, right, of our tarot decks, and we see a lot of, these are my favorite decks, but the how we use them is a little bit different sometimes, right? And there's the general how we use them and stuff like that. For this, I'm going to be using the old style tarot. I got this sent to me for a review for US Games, and I've been using it. I got to write up my review here soon and send it off to my rep there. But the idea of this is that I'm going to show you how I use my tarot decks, whether I'm doing them for review or because it's my favorite deck, which this is quickly becoming my favorite deck, via about 3 questions that Anna provides from a book, and kind of show you like how I work out the cards for myself, how I interpret the cards, how I kind of view it for myself, because that's one of the things is a lot of us are doing a self practice, right? A lot of us are doing tarot journals. Some of us do read for other people, but it's still our interpretation, even if we're reading for another person, right? It's our interpretation of the cards, not the querent's interpretation of the cards. So the questions are, like I said, it's 3 questions. They're kind of deep though. So what can you let go of now that you needed in the past? What takes up space in your life that does more harm than good? And what habits do you keep that bring you down? I will admit this is a little bit more of a shadow work spread than what I usually do. Normally when I do my tarot stuff, I always have like a positive thing going on in there. But I think there's an important aspect to this too, which Anna kind of touched base on, was that it is deeper. When we're visiting our practice, a lot of the times we are touching on shadow aspects of our lives and trying to figure out how to apply the tarot to that. I personally just provide myself with another upbeat thing that I will probably think about as I go through this. It depends on what I need in the moment. Normally I would figure it out in advance, but for the moment, I'm just going to kind of go with the flow and see where it takes me. So the first question is, what can I let go of now that I needed in the past? All right, and I like jumper cards. I've always liked jumper cards, so that's one of the things. There it is. Okay, I got the 8 of Cups. Okay, that's interesting. First thing I do usually is I take a look at the card to see, what kind of imagery is on the card, because not all of my decks are the same, right? And I take the numbers and the suit into account. So cups for me are emotion, heart suit. And I also feel like 8s are movement. They feel like movement to me. 8s always feel like movement to me, like you're moving in the direction. And then what is she doing? She looks like she is standing on the side. She's got a cup that is poured out at her side right here, like it's empty. She kind of looks a little forlorn, like heavy even. There's mountains in the background, and mountains to me kind of provide a burden. They feel burdensome. This card feels burdensome to me. So I'm going to go with that. So what can I let go of now that I may have needed in the past? So maybe in the past, I needed my cups to be full in order to keep going. Maybe I needed maybe I had an emotional need that rears its ugly head sometimes right now, right? Maybe a validation could be, when I'm looking back at my past versus looking at my future, right, or looking at my present right now, I was a people pleaser in my past a little bit, like 20s and 30s. And now I've kind of grown out of that. And let's see, 8 of Cups. I think she's moving in a backwards direction according to this, but we'll see what the deck what the actual book has to say. Like, I just do the first impressions, and then I like to use the book, especially when I'm doing reviews. And I love the book, even when I'm not doing reviews, because the artist usually gives away kind of how they feel about the card and why they put that art there. It's not always the case, but a lot of times I love the artist's interpretations of the cards. So let's see, 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups. This card deals with leaving the past behind and realizing that things that used to be important are not anymore. Fear of problems, opinions, right? An attempt to leave the past behind, to find new goals, to set out on a journey in the unknown but promising future, a difficult decision, to sacrifice something important for future success. Once you make a decision, like I love this about this deck, right? It's got the upright meaning, and then over here, you have the card's advice for the upright meaning. And then if it's reversed, because it has reversed, it has the warning to go with the reverse. And then if you need a quick answer, like you're asking a question, you have a quick answer option. Love that about this. This would be great for beginners for sure, I think. It does follow the RWS system. So anyways, my card's advice, upright. Once you make a decision, try not to question it. It's best to focus on the goals you are about to reach by making your decision rather than to regret not going in a different direction. So remember I was talking about direction. So I get like, I don't have all the cards memorized, so I just take what I see in the card, apply it to my reading, read it from the book, and then apply what I know like is attuned to me. I guess that's how I do it. That's kind of how I do it. So if I had to let go of something, it says, what can you let go of that you needed in the past? I would say that I need to let go of validation, that validation from others that I've always felt I needed. And it's not just me that feels that way. Lots of people feel like they need that outside validation, but I do have a lot of internal validation, especially as I've gotten older and I've moved into my 40s. I've realized a lot of things about my life. So I feel like letting go of the need for validation is probably where that goes for me. All right, I'm gonna keep going. The next one is, what takes up space in your life that does more harm than good? What takes up space in my life that does more harm than good? There it is. Oh. And I got the 4 of Wands reversed. Normally, I don't read reverse meanings, not traditionally like in reverse, but I've been trying it out with this deck just because I love the guidebook so much. So I wanted to give it an honest try. So reversed 4 of Wands. First up, let's take a look at the 4 of Wands, okay? The 4 of Wands, these two are celebrating, they're dancing, they're having a good time. There's a castle in the background. Definitely a form of celebration with another person, right? And in reverse, I would think that it might be maybe the need to want to be doing things with other people. Maybe that's what it is because it's reversed, right? This is definitely a together kind of card. 4s are kind of foundation cards. And Wands are, for me, they're creativity, my flame, my spark, my ambition. And I always equate it to work. Like Wands always end up getting equated to work for me. And so perhaps what does more harm than good for me is that I want to participate. I want to be a part of something, but I don't need to do that to be good at what I do or to have a great life. I live out in the middle of nowhere. So oftentimes I'm excluded from a good number of things in town. And with work, it's a lot harder for me because I can't just get up and go, right? It's an hour to town and an hour home. And I don't do that in the dark, which takes out anything at night. And then if it's a regular everyday thing, that's going to take a lot of gas on my part, which is going to be a lot of money in gas too. So I accepted my life out here. I chose to live out this way. So sometimes my need to want to go see friends, to want to go do the things other people are doing, to have those celebrations and be engaged in all the community efforts does not happen. And I've had to come to terms with that and my own accountability for making the decision to live out here. It's not anybody else's fault. It's my fault. It's my choice. It's my everything. So that's the way I look at it. So let's see what the book says for the 4 of Wands reversed. And then we'll see how close we were and how it goes. 4 of Wands reversed. You can't relax because of unfinished business. Difficult events, somber times, inability to feel joy, no longer calm or composed, hectic atmosphere, instability, laziness, ingratitude, lack of refusal to help, insecure. Insecure is one of those big things. Nothing is guaranteed. The warning, try to pay down all your debts. Only then will you be able to relax and enjoy your life. Okay, not what I was expecting. Not what I was expecting from the card, but that's okay because that's part of learning. And I also feel like being in tune with your intuition and how things go, right? So I'm going to go with what takes up space in my life that does more harm than good. I'm going to go with insecurity, that insecurity. And I feel like despite the fact that my initial thoughts of the cards weren't exactly spot on, it doesn't bother me at all because insecurity comes with wanting, right? Wanting to do something that you can't do. And that provides an insecurity. So the shadow work part for me would be to explore maybe how the Four of Wands becomes an insecurity for me, how that card plays into insecurities, and how I viewed it originally, because my viewpoint of the card is so important to how I do readings, right? So if I were to, taking this in the reading for insecurities and stuff like that, I could say, and it's very easy to do that because I live all the way out here, I am insecure, right? You could say that. And I am, not in like very disastrous ways, but I do have an insecurity because I'm out of touch with community. I am out of touch with the people I would normally be in touch with if I lived in town, right? And that provides, if you don't have a strong sense of self, it provides an insecurity that doesn't necessarily do you any good, right? It doesn't do me any good. So I have to work through these insecurities, and I do have them. I have a lot of them. So I believe that, it works out. It'll all work out, but I have to figure out how to apply the card to the insecurities that I have and how the Four of Wands plays into that. And because I take wands as a work-related thing, the insecurities could easily be about my art and probably how, like thinking on it, about how I can't just be a part of the art community that's there. That's an insecurity. I can't just go do all these things. It's just not a thing. And that insecurity, makes me think sometimes, well, if I go do this, then maybe somebody won't want me to do it because they don't know who I am, right? When you live in town and you can participate in society, it's different. People get to know who you are. They understand who you are, what you do, why you're doing it, and you provide that, that thing of who you are and what you do out into the community. But when you're not involved in it, there's an insecurity that comes that says, why would they be interested if they don't even know you, if they can't get to know you? So that's hard for me, I think, sometimes. So I very much feel like that's a part of it for me. All right, so the last question: what habits do you keep that bring you down? So what habits do I keep that bring me down? What habits do I keep that bring me down? We could go with this one. Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands in reverse. That's what I got. What habits do I keep that keep me down? So that's a tough one. I'm not super great at aces, especially in reverse, right? Wands, again, are ambition. My creativity goes right into that. Aces, for me, are a sense of beginning, a sense of starting something. Could be especially for wands, starting a new activity, starting a new adventure, starting on a new journey in my business, in creativity. And reverse may mean that it might not be the time for me to start that, right? It might not be the greatest time for me to change something drastically or create an absolute new beginning, and to beware maybe of new opportunities that are coming in. So that's what I kind of get from this reverse version. So aces are a little bit harder when I'm looking at the imagery. You have right here shows the new beginnings because that's a new leaf, right? And then you have the hand that's just barely grasping onto these new beginnings. So it could easily fall through, right? Or die, or something could happen to it, right? It's still in that stage. And then there's clouds below it. So, all right, let's see what the book has to say about the Ace of Wands. Notice I got 2 wands too, because that's important to me. That's 4 of Wands. I don't want to go that far. 4, 2, 1. Ace of Wands. The reversed meaning: diminishing opportunities, risky projects, collapse of plans, lacking the initiative to make plans come to fruition, unfortunate beginning, false start, faulty plan, strong desire to risk everything, possible failure and loss. Okay, so that goes with, what I was thinking about, right? Maybe it's not the time to do it, opportunity stuff. The warning: don't overestimate yourself. That's often the reason overly ambitious plans fall apart. Overconfidence and impatience are your main enemies. So that's interesting that the warning comes out, and I was talking about being aware of opportunities coming to me that might not be for my best interest. So there is that. So now the next thing I do is I look and see how many cards were major arcana. Okay. How many of these cards were major arcana? That was reversed too. Okay. None. So that means that everything is going on right now with this spread. This reading is completely and totally within my control. The other thing I look at is how many of each number I have. I have an 8, a 4, and an ace. So no reoccurring numbers. So that's not going to be, the number part is not super important to me in this reading. The other thing I look at is how many wands, how many cups, how many pentacles, that kind of thing. I have 2 wands, which tells me highly that it has more to do with my creativity than anything else in my life, and that the things that I'm struggling with have more to do with my creativity than things in my life, which is valid because I am struggling with that. I'm totally struggling with that. Like I've done a lot of reworking in my business. I've done a lot of reworking in my art, and I have found that, over this summer and even this month, even though I have a lot to do and I've got sales I'm supposed to be doing and I've got events I'm supposed to be doing, I'm finding myself not wanting to work, not wanting to be creative, not wanting to provide, clay art. I'm not wanting to sit and do it. My creativity table is right here, and it's an absolute disaster because I haven't cleaned it in a month because I haven't worked at it in like a month. So it tells me that that's a huge part of what's going on with me right now and things that I need to let go of. And I probably need to take a much deeper dive into these than just a overlooking on how I read the cards, but a more deeper introspection, which for me takes more time. I'm not going to do that on camera because that's a little bit more personal for me, and it involves around a whole lot of writing and a whole lot of exploring with more cards, adding more cards to it. So that's what I would do next, is I would add more cards to these to figure out what the details are and kind of explore my options more that way. And the next thing I would do is pull a card of maybe, what can I do to help myself? Because, like I said, I don't do just negative readings. That's not who I am. So I'm going to add, what can I do to help myself to this reading? Because I feel like that's important for me. What can I do to help myself with these things I need to let go of, the things that are dragging me down, that are doing more harm than good, the habits that keep bringing me down? What can I do to help myself? Oh, that's interesting. The Tower upright. That's the only major I've gotten, which means that outside sources can come into play to help me, right? I feel like that. And let's see. Tower card. The Tower card is about upheaval. It's about shaking of foundations, the shaking of what you thought you knew. So things that I might be able to do to help myself is restructure the foundation of my art and what I enjoyed, or what I thought I enjoyed about it, or even what I think I need to do with it may not be something that I need to do with it, right? So shaking up some foundations, really looking at how I have structured my world in the art, in my business, and how maybe I can restructure it to provide myself a better outlet for it, a better way of wanting to come back to it, that kind of thing. So let's see what the book says on the Tower card. All right, and it is upright. So it says the card signals a crisis, bringing sudden and often painful changes. You've reached a peak of built-up tension, falsehood exposed in an explosive manner, liberated from deceptive situations, the end of an existing situation, destroying stability, conflict, scandal, dangerous situation, threat, and aggression. Okay, all of that is valid in the Tower card. Card's advice: don't be afraid to rip the bandage off all at once rather than postponing the inevitable. Ride the wave of sudden change instead of being destroyed by it. So I feel like a change is definitely necessary, and that's one of the ways I can help myself. I just have to figure out what kind of change I need. And this again would be where I pull an extra card to find out where I can start making that kind of change to help myself. So this is how I would do readings. This is how I do readings. It's how I explore my internal self, how I explore decks, how I work, especially with new decks, because this is a new deck. Decks I know well, it's much easier for me to take the imagery from because I've already worked with them several times. When that imagery comes up, I've already read the book, I've already done the research, I've already, explored some things written down about the card that I can really easily just pop into it. With new decks, I have a much harder time with that. So that is one of the things that I'm practicing consistently with, since I'm consistently always getting new decks. And I don't feel like every deck is exactly the same. I feel like there are things in it that do, they're not always exact. That's what I mean. Like, they can follow the RWS system, which I am learning. I'm in the process of learning. I do not have it memorized. I have certain cards memorized. I have certain meanings memorized. But I'm learning as I go. And as I do readings, part of the learning is learning to listen to my intuition, and also being able to read the book and learn the card per the person who created the card, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if this was helpful to you or even interesting. I found it difficult to do on camera, honestly, because it is so personal, right? I'm not used to doing this kind of personal work on my channel, so it's kind of unnerving for me. But anyway, so yeah, so if you want to give it a try, I will leave Lady Astro's video down in the description that you can go check it out. And I will also leave the questions that she gives in my description so you can easily find them. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a very great day.